Because an argument that can be made was or is about the Manhattan Project, right?
Mhm.
And how that entire those 3 years, how they bringing out the strong nuclear force from the atom, like that feat in itself is something that I'm still like mind blown away
Right.
to the day. And
But
watching,
keep in mind, there's a couple things. First, the sun does that all the time.
right?
Okay. All right. And fission, right, is also a natural phenomena, right? The Ocala mines, we had enough criticality of uranium a billion years ago to actually have, nuclear chain reactions. Okay. So maybe because I'm older and closer to it, and have had relatives I spoke to a lot that went through the wars, right? Germany was working also on making a nuclear bomb, right? And Germany had rockets. We didn't have rockets. So Hitler was a really bad man, right? And if Germany had developed nuclear weapons before we did, the whole world would be totally different today, right? Maybe every Jew in the world had been killed, right? I mean, he had rockets. He was already raining rockets on London, right? Put a nuclear bomb on a rocket, you can't stop it in those days, right? So, there was an imperative that we believe we were the good guys and Hitler was the bad guy and Stalin were the bad guys. Well, Stalin was on our side, but later he was a bad guy, right? And that was the same thought, right? That these are evil people that need to be stopped. Then there's no question. They have a nuclear weapon, we don't. War's over. Washington's destroyed, New York's destroyed, London's destroyed, everywhere is destroyed. You're living under the rule of Nazism, right? So don't think, oh, we had something we should decide whether to unleash an atom or not. You want to preserve freedom, democracy, and a ethnic group of people. You got to make a nuclear bomb, okay? So. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think it's, war is terrible. I hope we never fight them and don't have to. Sometimes there are bad people who start them, right? I mean, Hitler invaded Poland and then France and other things. It wasn't like we went and did that, okay? So you can use technology because they're going to use it as well, right? And so as long as you believe that your side is on the more correct, the righter side, right? Then, and you believe the other side isn't, and hopefully through objective reasons, not just because they're a different religion or this or that, right? But real objective reason, like they're killing people in gas chambers, okay? They're invading countries. They're torturing people. I mean, you want to stop that. If we can use science to do it, let's do it.
Does that ever make you think about the consequences of your achievement? Because I watched Oppenheimer recently, right?
Yeah, I haven't gotten to see that yet. I'd really like to.
You would enjoy it.
I'm sure.
And sure, the movie is called Oppenheimer, and it follows the Manhattan Project, but the message is much deeper into that, right?
Yeah.
The message is about how troubled he was after he realized the consequences of his achievements, which is a very contradictory thing to say, right?
Yeah.
Like, how can your achievements have consequences? But
well, I mean, the good thing is that since 1945, people haven't been dropping nuclear weapons on each other. Okay, so there has been a way to not have widespread use of this technology in a military manner, right? Hopefully, because the world's leaders recognize also, and the people who put them there, that this is, taken to extremes, massively dangerous and wrong. But the ability to understand how to manipulate the strong force, right, has also led to tremendous vitality in our world. 20% of our electricity is made by nuclear power. And if you want, in France, it's 85, 90%. If you want a system that can make energy that doesn't affect global warming, nuclear fission power is for you. All right? I mean, this could be the thing, that has already helped the world dramatically and can in the future. So, so understanding how to make a bomb also let us understand how to make a nuclear power plant. So I wouldn't say, oh, this was so terrible they did this. It also managed to, and we managed to get it before, I think, everyone in the world probably now agrees was a bad guy like Hitler. Okay.
And even that achievement of creating a system and then actually getting it to work and organizing and aligning all the incentives to make it work is probably also as cool as the bomb and everything was, that in itself, how we were able to align the whole country to make that happen, that's also quite
well. And remember, at the same time, we had the whole country being able to make tank after tank after tank and airplane after airplane after airplane, right? I mean, and rifle, right? We had the at the end of World War II, the United States was using half of the energy in the world. Okay, if you look at the percentage. Why? How? Well, because we mobilized and manufactured for the war effort to supply all of our allies, and with this amount of capacity and natural resources and people, right? And the willingness for people to work, right? Rosie the Riveter and everything else, right? To do these things, we were able to win the war, not just because of creating a bomb, but create the aircraft carriers and the airplanes and the guns and everything else that allowed one to do that, right? The manufacturing base we built up because of World War II led us to be a superpower and prosperous and a beacon of prosperity and light and hope to the world.
Yeah, the Japanese did not think that the Americans would get enough structure and enough organization to make that happen.
Right.
But it goes back to...
it seems like the ocean, they felt, was a big enough impediment that you're never going to get across it.
But that goes back to the idea that you always like to ask people, like, why don't you have the latest iPhone 5 years before? It's because we don't have the machine that makes a machine, which is the idea of manufacturing.
Yes, it is.
Which is, people think about, design, prototyping, and all these things, but progress and the difference between actually making, a simple prototype and making a machine that makes a machine, it's the hard part and where progress really comes from. And the Manhattan Project is one example. What you're doing is also related to that. But it's such a underrated topic in our culture and how we see how